Hey guys, Mike here. Welcome back to another video on the channel. Got another job to do today amongst all the other work I've been doing recently with the long arms and the axle and everything else. But basically, I'm going to be putting on a hack and tap kit on the rear. I know, a boring video, been done a million times, and I wasn't going to film it. But some of you guys asked me to do it, so I'm going to. I guess the difference in this video is I actually have to build up a drive shaft first, and being the diesel, it has an extremely long rear drive shaft, which I think is going to present some problems. But without further ado, let's get into it. So I've got the two shafts stacked up against each other, and this one here is longer, only by, let's say, a ½ inch, something like that, but it is a bit longer. So my next job is to get the double cardan end of this shaft off, and this piece here, which is going to be used for the hack and tap, that's all going to come off, and it's going to go onto the back of this shaft here and hopefully make it into a viable shaft. This yoke isn't officially used with hack and tap kits. It's a bit on the long side and it will most likely need cutting down, but it should work just fine. The whole point of me doing all of this is to use parts I already have and keep this mod on the cheap side. Mainly because I have an NP242, and given my diesel is my main vehicle for winter excursions, part-time four-wheel drive is very tempting. So until I make my final decision, this mod will improve driveline vibration for the time being. I'm taking the Spicer U-joints and the double cardan joint off of this one-piece drive shaft to use on the two-part slip joint shaft. The plan is to end up with a reliable slip joint shaft to use on the rear. That's the plan, anyway. Getting that drive shaft apart was not fun, I'm going to tell you that. When I did the other front one, I pulled off the 4 litre. I was like, I'm getting good at this. It just came apart like butter. And then that one there just set me straight, made me realise that I still don't know what I'm doing. But I'm just putting all the needle bearings back in this part here, in the top of this. And it looks like I've lost one. I knew I would have. Too good to be true, isn't it? There is a gap. I have lost one. Now I have to find it, or just try and find a spare one, which I do know I have somewhere. I have some spare needle bearings. The needle bearing has been recovered and the shaft is almost ready for some paint. Shinies for life. But being in Europe presents a challenge in obtaining original or quality parts for Jeeps, like Spicer for example. I can get Spicer U-joints here, but they are very, very expensive. And there are many other aftermarket brands, but I just don't trust them in the same way. So I'm cleaning up these perfectly good Spicer joints, and I'm going to reuse them in the drive shaft build. They're really not that old, they just need some fresh grease and the rubber boots need cleaning, and they should be good to go. And let's face it, they're looking pretty shiny right now, which means they must be good, right? So the question is now which one of these do I use? This one is a bit of a clumber spaniel because this one came off of the front drive shaft that I'm building up. It's pretty damn heavy and the casting is much thicker, and you might think that's a good thing, but it came with this component here which has already failed after a short period of time, and it's just the angles you get off that are quite poor. This is a Spicer one off of the original drive shaft that came with the Jeep all those years ago. I kept it. And you know, you can see it's a bit more slender, it can do better angles, and this is the one that came off of the drive shaft at the back that I just took off and dismantled. I think I'm going to use this one, and hopefully I don't regret it. Doesn't look too bad. Well, there we go. The drive shaft is complete. And that is a shiny looking shaft. Interestingly enough, this piece here, where you have the eyes on the actual drive shaft, it was really hard to get these in. Very, very difficult. But on this part that I took off of the other drive shaft, it was kind of like a spicer shaft, much easier to get those in. So this is all looking really good. It feels good. Hopefully the angles will be good enough. Sometimes you feel binding in this. It's always good to check it, especially when you've just rebuilt it. But that feels good. Please, please don't eat this one. There we go. And that is going to go there like that. So this is what I'm working with, and it's not ideal. Now, before I go any further, the reason why it's not ideal, I can always put this back together with the slip yoke, with the NP231 back the way it was, and it will work fine. You can have two slip joints, it's not a problem, but it obviously isn't ideally what you want, considering what I'm doing here. But the reason why this isn't ideal is this is maxed out as much as I would want it to be. And now this is pushed right back onto the output shaft, and I would just have to basically bolt it up the way it is without any cutting. And really you want to shorten this, like you want the double cardan portion in the yoke back further, closer to the output bearing, and that's really for the sake of the survivability of the output bearing. It's going to be working a lot harder with this long shaft and this weight on the end here. Anyway, I've talked a lot. I'm going to check the front shaft, and I've got to fix this. I've got to sort it out. That's longer. Oh, it moves so much easier than the other one. The other one's so stiff. Well, I'm going to have to measure that, but it's not going to be very accurate considering it's bent up the other end, so I've just got to flip and take it off, haven't I? I love working on Jeeps. So I just took the front shaft out. This is the original Spicer unit that I pulled off the 4 litre, and this is the one I just built, which is like a kind of hybrid aftermarket piece of crap. Just going to measure this from the back of the U-joint to the centre of this U-joint. I know that's not officially how you measure it, but I want to compare the two. That's 86, and this one is 88.5. So this one is 2.5 centimetres, or has the ability to be 2.5 centimetres longer. That's about an inch actually. So just before the splines start showing. So basically that's the one that's going in the back, and this one is going to go in the front. With the freshly built drive shaft installed up front, I've jacked up the front axle and I'm testing it for binding. The newer double cardan joint looks good though, with plenty of clearance. So I'm going to leave this one up front and run it. Now though, it's time to start the hack and tap install, and the first job is running the vehicle in 2-wheel drive to spin the NP231 output shaft, while clipping the end off with a cutting disc. It all sounds a bit sketchy, and if my vehicle wasn't a diesel, I'd be taking a lot more care of the direction of the sparks and the fuel lines. With the cutting though, I'm just removing the very end of the hardened outer, in an attempt to preserve some of the centre depression, so I have an obvious centre point to drill, mainly because I have no hack and tap jig to mark dead centre with, which is an option with the kit. It is worth mentioning though that the centre is very, very hard to drill because it's hardened steel, and I'm using a non-standard hardened pilot drill bit to remove the remaining hardened material, and this is the same drill bit I used to drill my door hinge pins when I did my door alignment. It's made pretty short work of it, and now I'm well on my way into getting this output shaft drilled up to 8.5mm, so I can tap it with a 10mm bit. Well, you can see it's all together. I actually thought I recorded that, but didn't have the camera playing at all, which is very skilled. Just one thing to note, because this is not an original SYE yoke, it's actually just a yoke that's part of the other drive shaft. I found a big conical washer that's sat in there, and it actually grips the outer part of the yoke, not just the central part where it's been connected to the shaft. So that's kind of an important thing. And this is a 10.9 bolt. I think it might even be a 12, but it's a 10.9 with a washer and plenty of Loctite, and that's on there dog tight, which is the correct torque setting for this. Oh man, go have me some fun. Go have me some fun. Go have me some fun. That's got about as much shaft engagement as me on one of dogging.com's -20 meet and greets. It's not enough. It's not enough. I've clearly got a problem, but then who doesn't when it's -20 degrees C? But the drive shaft is obviously too short, although it was my thinking that 820mm, about 33 inches, was the longest front drive shaft that Jeep made for the XJ. Regardless, I'm testing this to see how it behaves, and I can already see a problem. The shaft is off-centre, and this is an original Spicer shaft, so I'm finding it hard to believe that it's welded wrong from the factory. It must be my U-joint installation, so I need to revisit this because it's a viable shaft for both my Jeeps. I will add though that I cannot feel any vibrations, and it looks like it's all running very smoothly, especially near the T-case end. Upon further flex testing, you can see the slip joint contracts when the rear drops, as expected. But it's those hard knocks at speed that will jolt the whole axle upwards, distancing it from the T-case, which could result in a catastrophic failure. This shaft is a no-go, and it's back to the drawing board. So I was hoping this video would have a happy ending, because let's face it, who doesn't want a happy ending? But this drive shaft just arrived. I bought it from France. It was listed as 910mm long, but in my naivety, where I normally buy drive shafts from in Sweden, they're listed in metric, fully compressed. So normally you get a range of measurements actually, so they tell you the full extended length and the closed length, and then you can work out somewhere in between of what you need, and that's a brilliant thing to be able to do. But I assume this one was listed the same, fully closed at 910mm. It's not, and you can see the issues. If it was 910, I could have cut this back even more, pushed the yoke back, and I would have had about 1.5 inches to play with. I know I'm working in a metric and imperial, I'm really sorry. I would have had about, let's say, I don't know, like 3.5, 4 centimeters to play with, where the slip yoke could have moved. So it would have been ideal if it was at that length, but it isn't, and I'll show you why. This is at approximately 900mm at the moment, so supposedly another 10mm and it would be at its maximum length. I've marked some tape there, which is not going to be massively accurate. But if I take that off and hold the tape, that's how much spline engagement I've got basically before the shaft comes off. So it is actually longer than the other one, but still not by enough. So where does that leave me? Well, it leaves me having to either build my own or getting a company to build it for me. So maybe I take this one and I take this one here, obviously, and I can get them to build me a drive shaft and get one balanced to the length that I want. But that's probably going to cost just as much as ordering a custom one from the US. You know, with all the time I've spent on that one there, buying that, getting this sorted out, you know, it's just going to end up costing more than like getting an Adams shaft or something custom built and shipped over. So that's the long-term gain. It's just the shipping that sucks. You know, the thing that annoys me is, like, when I look online and I go to order parts here in Europe, why can't they just give me the length of it fully compressed and fully extended so I can work out what I need? Why has it got to be this random measurement that's either its maximum extended length or its maximum or its minimum compressed length, and they don't tell you? Like when you go to buy this one online, or the front one for example, that was sold to me with its compressed length. So I was able to then go under the Jeep and go, okay, so it's 820 fully compressed, but and you know, I need one this long, so you know, I could work out that I had 1.5 inches to spare, and that was perfect. So it just, I rarely get pissed off about stuff, but you know, when things aren't listed properly on websites and you waste money on parts, that it does annoy me. So this isn't a happy ending, and that's a failed hack and tap install, and you know, I've got to try and figure out another drive shaft. But I'm in the purpose of building a 3-link, and I can't test anything or even drive the vehicle right now, so I got some time on my hands. If any of you have a drive shaft that you're selling, because I know people who own vehicles who watch this channel, please let me know. I'm happy to pay for it and the shipping, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. Just let me know, because it is f***ing annoying trying to get parts in Sweden. But anyway, that's the end of my rant, and yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate all your support, appreciate the guys who support me on Patreon, and obviously just thanks for watching and everything else, and I'll see you again in another video. Take care.